Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another film theory reaction. And this is Only One Thing Can Save Moana. So, yeah, that's a bit ominous, isn't it? Granted, you know, it's been a while since I've seen Moana, and, oh god, I forget, were they making a sequel? I need to double check this, I only just remembered that. Oh, it's actually coming out in a couple of days at the time of recording. Huh, okay. Yeah, so, I don't know what the plot in Moana 2 is. If I remember correctly, in the first one, that's, you know, they got rid of the curse, the people started, you know, sailing again. So, yeah, I don't know what the second movie is supposed to be about. I don't remember anything from the trailers. Description. Can you help me? Theorist, only one thing can save Moana on her treacherous journey in Moana 2, and so, and no, it's not the rock's Maui, it's actually her pet pal, Pau, and you're not going to believe what Moana has to do to Pau in order to survive. Pau, wait, was he the pig or the chicken? Oh, so he was the pig, okay. Okay, so I'm going to have to guess, this is either going to go... Okay, one of two things. Either one, this is going to talk about, like, her having to somehow get Pau to breed to spread, you know, pigs as, you know, across the islands as, like, a food source. Or two, it's going to go into her, you know, like, the whole, like, caloric values and, like, how much food you need to go across the voyage. And eventually she might have to kill him for his meat, which, God, I'm having pork chop tonight for dinner. What kind of coincidence is that? So yeah, confused, but also very curious about this video. So let's actually get into this. So yeah, of course, as always, you know, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it for some reason. Corner video lead to my game theory reaction. And yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get this thing started then, shall we?
Boat snack! Oh, boat snack upgrade. Bacon and eggs? Why didn't you bring the pig last time?
Yeah, Moana, why didn't you bring the pig last time? Moana, what are you planning to do to that pig? Hello?
Actually, thinking about it, thinking back to the first movie, the pig didn't... Yeah, the pig, I remember actually thinking back now, yeah, they made a big deal about, like, oh, you know, the chicken and the pig were both going to be, you know, in the movie as, you know, cute, cuddly sidekicks. And yet the pig didn't show up, like, basically at all.
Hello, internets. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that always hears the call of the sea. It's telling me that you need to subscribe. Huh, that's weird. Anyway, it's been a stressful couple of weeks, loyal theorists, and you know what? Sometimes you need to just take a step back and chill for a bit. Maybe throw on something that you're nostalgic for, like our new Lumen line of officially licensed FNAF clothing. Order before December 1st and you'll get everything in your order except the Withered jacket by Christmas. Is there a better way to feel nostalgic than with clothes based on this theorist classic? Or a classic Disney movie, and then, you know, doing the theoristy thing of overanalyzing a super small detail and showing how it's actually incredibly dark. I mean,
classic, absolutely classic. I mean, granted, I mean, there was a time where, you know, I'd get, you know, a little sick of that sort of thing, but at the same time, you know, there's just something about it, like taking such a tiny nitpick and making such a magnificent mountain out of the tiniest little molehill.
Some of my favorite theories we've ever done here on the channel have been taking a look at the warm, cuddly, happy-go-lucky worlds of Disney animation and turning them on their heads. You know, classic ruining your childhood stuff. So, with the release of Moana 2, I figured, hey, I want to go rewatch Moana and all of its trailers and maybe get some of my creative juices flowing. In case you don't know, who am I kidding? Moana is one of the most streamed movies ever with 80 billion minutes watched. You know what Moana is. Like, it was so popular that Disney decided to make a spin-off series for the movie on Disney Plus, before promptly deciding that they like money and instead turning it into a full-on sequel.
Oh, that's one of those. Oh no.
Moana 2. This thing is gonna make bank, and I don't know about you, but I've seen the marketing and trailers for this movie everywhere. Enough times that, well, I noticed a recurring theme.
You wanted to come this time?
Why didn't you bring the pig last time?
Yeah, they're making a point to really call out that Moana's pet pig, Pua, is coming along for the ride this go-around, and that's weird, isn't it? Well, there's actually a reason for that. See, a lot of the pre-release marketing for the original Moana had Pua everywhere. Trailers, posters, merch, you name it. But when the movie came out, Moana left to return the heart of Te Fiti, and Pua didn't tag along, with basically no explanation. This annoyed a lot of fans who were looking forward to the adorable pig pal. It felt like a big bait and switch, but Disney did have a good reason. According to the writer of Moana, they felt like Pua represented home in a way that would make the journey easier, and they wanted the adventure to be as challenging for Moana as possible. And you know what? That's entirely reasonable. That's a solid screenwriting reason for this
I can
choice.
see that.
And I call shenanigans. That isn't the real reason they left the pig behind, and bringing him along in this new adventure is going to be a massive mistake for Moana. How? Why? Well, let me tell you, loyal theorists, the more I sailed across the internet to find answers, the more I realized that Moana's journey would not have been easier if she brought Pua with her. And when you find out the real reason that Moana didn't bring the pig, let's just say it's gonna make you squeal.
Okay, so this is gonna go more into the whole thing of just what you need to raise pigs. Huh, okay, and okay, I can definitely see where this could be going.
Ready to be shiny, friends, as we dive into this Moana mystery. Okay, so for us to really understand just how bad an idea it would be to bring Pua along for this journey, we first need to know just how long it would take for Moana to board her boat, sail across the sea, and restore the heart of Te Fiti. And, well, if you watch the movie, it seems like only 3 or 4 days pass, but would that actually be possible? I mean, it seems like she crosses an entire freaking ocean. Or does she? Well, thanks to the Art of Moana, the official art book for the film, we have a Disney-approved map of her journey, showing that it was actually only 1,200 miles or 1,931 kilometers. Yeah, okay, only that far. That's still the distance from Cincinnati, Ohio to Boulder, Colorado. But surprisingly, that might not take as long as you expect out at sea. The last time we talked about Moana on the channel, we figured out that Moana's boat was based roughly on the ancient Fijian Thama cow, which could top out at just about 17 miles or 28 kilometers per hour. While explaining what a wayfinder does to Moana, Maui says that they need to be traveling 24/7.
You know, a real wayfinder never sleeps, so they actually get where they need to go.
Which means that they would reach Te Fiti in just about 69 hours. Nice. That's just shy of 3 days, and when you factor in all of the side quests and distractions Moana and the crew encounter during the film, 3 or 4 days is totally plausible. Man, score 1 to Moana for the realism. Well, actually score 2 because if you overlay the map from the art book with a real map of the South Pacific, you'll find that the fictional island Montanui is exactly 1,200 miles from the real island of Tahiti, whose name and likeness inspired Te Fiti. Neat. So to really start out this discussion, let's go over why bringing Pua would be a bit of a handful. The biggest reason? Well, I mean, he's literally a pig. Specifically, he's a variety of pig called a kuni, one of the world's smallest breeds, but don't let that fool you. Even though he's technically a miniature pig, that doesn't mean that he would be small. First of all, we know that Pua isn't like a baby. He's an adult pig, which might come as a bit of a surprise. You might look at Pua and think, how could this possibly be an adult? He's just a cute little baby. Maybe he wouldn't be that big. But the timeline of the movie begs to differ here. In the prologue, we see Moana, who seems to be about 10, trying to escape the island with Pua. The main events of the movie take place around 6 years later, meaning that Pua would be at least 6 years old. Kuni pigs reach their maximum size around 3 to 4 years of age, meaning that Pua is practically middle-aged by the main events of the movie.
Oh, that's sad. Oh.
Adult kunis can grow to be about 4 feet long, 2 feet tall, and males like Pua can weigh between 200 and 300 pounds.
Though, okay, that being said, he's obviously very, very small then, so he's either like the runt of the litter or like the pig equivalent of a midget.
That's 1.2 meters long, 0.6 meters tall, and between 90 and 136 kilos. Since Pua is admittedly on the visually smaller side, I mean, he just looks tiny, we're going to say that he's actually on the smaller end of that weight scale, clocking in at 200 pounds or 90 kilos, which makes this scene at the end of the movie where Moana catches a charging Pua incredibly impressive on her part.
Okay, yeah, so I'm gonna call shenanigans on that, because if you're calling that as being 200 pounds, how dense do you think he is? Or how big is Moana?
Moana's got a sleeper swole build. But all of this now begs the question, how would Moana possibly keep this guy fed and hydrated on that long journey? See, according to the American Kuni Pig Society, I guess there's a society for everything nowadays, adult Kuni should be eating between 2.5 and 4 pounds or 1.1 and 1.8 kilograms per day. That's nothing to scoff at. Though we don't tend to think of human diets in terms of raw poundage, research shows that a typical human eats between 3 and 5 pounds, 1.4 to 2.3 kilos per day, essentially the same as a full-grown pig. So bringing Pua along would be the equivalent of having a second full person to feed, which means that Moana's gonna need to bring twice as much food for the 3 to 4 day journey each way. In the movie, we know that Moana is going to be able to restock when she gets to Te Fiti, but she wouldn't know that when she left her home island. That means that she'd need to prepare for that week-long journey at least. So at that minimum of 2.5 pounds of food per day for Pua, that means that Moana's going to need to pack 15 to 20 pounds of food on top of what she'll need for herself, just to keep Pua fed during the journey. And don't think that this could be something like Survivor Man, where Moana and Pua could just rough it without food for a bit. This would literally be the difference between life or death for Pua. While humans are able to live as long as 1 to 2 months without food, pigs, not so much. A pig will typically keel over if they're without food for just 3 to 4 days.
Wait, really? They're that sensitive? And again, 3 months? Really? I didn't even know that. I always went by like the rule of threes when it came to like starvation. So like, 3 weeks without food, 3 days without water, and then like 3 minutes without air.
Exactly the distance to Te Fiti, and that's the best case scenario. Believe me, you don't want to be on the receiving end of a hangry boar or pig. They can be dangerous animals.
Oh, believe me, yeah, I know that.
Is assuming that Moana knows exactly how long the journey would be, and that she isn't expecting any complications, like, say, her ship capsizing just a few hours into her journey and losing a big chunk of her supplies. Now, you're probably thinking, wait, couldn't they find other ways to resupply? And that's a great thought.
Yeah, I mean, literally, she's on the water. I mean, if she knew how to fish, pigs, at the end of the day, are omnivores. They'll eat almost anything.
There's an obvious source of food that Moana could go for here to resupply. Fish.
Right there.
But to do that, she'll need to channel her ancestors and fish out on the open oceans, and that might be dangerous to rely on. On their long voyages across the ocean searching for new lands, the Polynesians would supplement their food supply with fish, but this could be hit or miss depending on where they sailed. Therefore, they never wanted to solely rely on catching fish to feed a boat full of, say, a person, a kuni, a chicken, and a demigod. And even if we think that, as a demigod, Maui doesn't need to eat, based on how he acts around Moana's animal friends, it's clear that he very much likes to eat and is going to want a piece of any catch. If Moana was able to catch enough fish to feed herself and the additional 2.5 pounds per day to keep Pua alive, would Pua even eat the fish? Thankfully, this isn't something she'd need to really worry about. Pigs will eat just about anything you put in front of their snouts. They're like freaking vacuum cleaners. But here's the catch. Though fish have roughly the right amount of protein recommended for a pig, I found several sources saying that fish in their bones might be dangerous to them. So it's not exactly the best food source for Pua. And
really, is it sort of the deal, like little spindly bones can get caught in the throat and potentially that it lead them to suffocate?
And even if Moana was able to catch enough fish to keep herself, Pua, and the rest of the gang alive, all of that catching, cooking, and taking care of Pua would take time away from wayfinding, which Maui points out is a full-time job.
A real wayfinder never sleeps.
This just isn't going to be a reliable source of food for this situation in the long run. And you know what else the ocean can't really help you with? Fresh water. Obviously, I don't need to tell you that everyone, you, me, and yes, even pigs, need water to survive. But despite all of that water, there isn't a single drop of it you can drink in the entire ocean. In fact, the salt in ocean water would ironically dehydrate you faster, sending you to Davy Jones's locker much quicker than if you didn't drink anything at all. So what did the real-world Polynesians do in these situations? Well, when going on their long seafaring expeditions, Polynesian sailors had several methods of getting water.
I would almost imagine, first of all, if you're in the open sea, if it starts raining, you basically fold out every sail you can to start collecting the water and funneling it towards whatever catching, container you have. Other than that, potentially, maybe getting the seawater, boiling it, but collecting the steam and condensing it back into the water? But that would take that's really wasteful and potential like fuel and stuff like that.
One was to just bring a large quantity of water from home.
Of course,
which Moana didn't seem to really think of ahead of time, so oof.
Nope.
Another was to drink the water naturally found in coconuts, but considering that Moana lost all of her supplies in the storm, that's also a non-starter. That means that the only realistic way that Moana is going to be getting fresh water for herself, Pua, and the rest of the gang is to collect rainwater, which was a strategy used by her ancestors. But at the same time, it also means intentionally riding into a rainstorm, avoiding capsizing, and then collecting the runoff from her sails. Already, that's a tall order, but it's gonna get
Very
worse.
much so,
See,
yeah.
A typical woman needs about 5 cups or just over a liter of water per day to survive, but that's in a normal day in a moderate environment. Temperatures on the Pacific Ocean can range anywhere between 70 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit, 21 to 35 degrees Celsius, which is pretty hot, and the intense exercise from sailing and fishing would mean that Moana needs to drink more water.
And on top of that, you also have to remember, it's the ocean, so most of the times you'd imagine it to be pretty humid, so that means that your body's natural ways of getting rid of heat, sweating is less effective, which makes you feel even hotter, which means you have to drink more water to compensate. Ugh.
In these sorts of situations, people sometimes need to drink as much as 0.79 gallons or 3 liters of water per day. That means that over her 6 to 8 day journey to and from Te Fiti, Moana would need to collect somewhere between 5 to 7 gallons of water from the rain. That's between 20 and 26 liters of water just for her. It's way worse for Pua because some estimates show that pigs need up to 5 gallons or 20 liters of water per day, which means that Moana's gonna need to come up with another 30 to 40 more gallons.
Just for the pig. God, wow, okay. I mean, I love pork and bacon and all that good stuff. But God, I didn't know pigs were so needy.
That's insane. So there wouldn't be enough food or water for Moana to take care of both herself and Pua. But even if we assume that somehow, magically, Pua doesn't need all of that food or water, it still doesn't matter because Moana is still going to have her hands full saving Pua from, well, everything else in the gosh dang movie. Early on in the film, when Moana first tries to take her boat out beyond the reef with Pua in tow, almost immediately, a wave washes Pua out of the boat and we see that he isn't much of a swimmer. Moana ends up risking her own life to save him, and after this near-death experience, Pua freaks out at the mere sight of an oar. And that's without mentioning the other dangers that they're constantly running into with the storms, and the kakamora, and the lava monsters, and the singing crab, and you get the idea. Helping Pua survive each of these ordeals is going to take Moana's attention away from her mission, away from wayfinding, and give her less time to save her family from starving to death. I gotta say, from every angle, bringing Pua along was going to be an awful idea for Moana.
Horrible
it would have
mistake,
meant less food, less clean water, and a heck of a lot more work for her. But here's the thing. It's not like Moana knew that she was going to lose all of her supplies, that there were going to be massive storms, lava monsters, or a giant singing crab with an obsession with shiny things. So if she didn't know that, wait, why didn't she bring Pua again? Like, yeah, we know Disney's reasoning. Pua was her friend, her confidant, someone who would have made this journey feel way more like home. Why leave him behind? Well, because if she was honest with herself, Moana knew that bringing Pua along would mean that she'd have to do the unthinkable. She'd have to eat Pua. Yeah, the smart thing to do in this situation would have been to eat
the
her
pig.
best friend. And in fact, given how much of a drain on her resources he would have been, the benefits of eating Pua would have far outweighed the downsides. If you've ever been to or even seen a luau, you know that a whole pig can often feed an entire family, so it could go a long way for just one teenage girl. If we use that assumption that Pua was about 200 pounds,
Again, that is such a stupid assumption. Again, does he look like... Again, unless he's made out of lead, I highly doubt he's 200 pounds.
3,200 ounces or 90 kilograms, that means that the meat on Pua could have been worth as much as 230,000 calories. That's enough to last Moana for months, and it's not even mentioning the nearly 26,000 grams of protein in that meat that would help her tend to the sails every night and day. Now, the main problem she'd have here is preserving that meat and keeping it from going bad, but even then, it doesn't need to last her for months, just a couple of days until she gets to Te Fiti to save the world.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is, potentially, you could try to cure the meat. I mean, you're surrounded by salt water. I mean, granted, hygienic reasons aside, scoop up the salt water, dip it in... Well, you probably actually want to boil it first so to make sure there was no bacteria, but dip it in and essentially brine it. Or, if you want to take the extra step, like, have the water evaporate, leave the salt, and then just dry the meat using the salt. Granted, again, a lot of extra time, a lot of extra effort. So, it might not be feasible, but still, it's an idea.
And what's more, eating pigs like this is something we know did happen in real-world history. Remember, the ancient Polynesians explored and colonized the entire South Pacific, and when they were headed out to somewhere new, they'd load up their boats not only with food and water, but plants and animals to sustain themselves when they got to their new homes. Among these animals were, you guessed it, pigs. But if their resources were somehow lost at sea, if travel was delayed or a real-life equivalent of a lava monster showed up and push came to shove, they would eat their pigs and chickens in order to survive. Let's be honest, Moana's mission was far too important for Moana to give up on. Her family, no, the entire world was depending on her to make it to Te Fiti, and if she was forced to choose between Pua and the world, well, we know Moana does have a taste for pork.
That's good pork. Oh.
I can practically smell the bacon now. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
Why would you have a pet that, was an edible animal like that? Because, granted, I have heard stories. I forget where I heard it, but, there were these guys in college, and altogether they raised, a pot-bellied pig over, the course of the year. And on the last day of their the academic year, they all had shirts saying we ate like Jeffrey or whatever the name of their pig was. So people have done it. So at the end of the day, Moana could potentially be raising the pig just to eat it somewhere down the line, but that'd be kind of sick and kind of twisted for a Disney movie. Oh god, yeah. But that's going to be it for now. So, yeah, of course, as always, original videos linked in the description if you haven't seen it yet for some reason. Corner video link to my Let's Play of the day. And, yeah, with all that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.